Sandstorm.
How we roll, hey.
Yeah.
I got my shoes high and my jeans low. I got my socks fitted. You know how I roll.
This is how we roll.
I got my shoes high and my jeans low. I got my socks fitted. You know how I roll.
This is how we roll. Yeah.
Homicidal clothes cause I'm dressed to kill. Leave 6 bitches oohing cause I'm worth a mill. Flow is ill, spitting no vomit spill. Killing them softly but I ain't Lauren Hill. I'm a Beantown boy with a Trigger City mind state. Leaving hoes surprised like they going on a blind date. Had that ass spinning, best believe that booty gyrate. Come fresh to the game so y'all lanes better migrate. Versatile cat so I flow on the South Beat. Spit so hard I fuck around and hurt my teeth. My vision stays clear, why y'all looking cloudy? Yeah I spit fire but misses don't doubt me. Jumping hard on tracks, call me steroided rabbit. Consistently murder beats like a serial killer's habit. Chop his flow, so I took the game and stabbed it. Copy my style, but it's too hot for you to grab. I got my shoes high, and my jeans low. I got my socks fitted, you know how I roll.
This is how we roll.
I got my shoes high, and my jeans low. I got my socks fitted, you know how I roll.
Well, this is how we roll. As I take another pull from my Cohiba, overlooking green fields full of reefer. My suit say let it soul on my cufflinks, similar to Jay-Z and Puffy. I ain't saying that I wanna be like them. I'm getting fat stacks, why your paper so thin? Look within the eyes of a hustler. I need me a mansion so I can buy a butler. This is a classic, so put me in the classified. I mix a fire so she suck me like a pacifier. Old school Chevrolet, riding up the interstate. Bitches give me crazy love, niggas want a hard hit. Pussy nigga try me and you gon' get a scar face. Ain't no way I'm getting caught, that's gon' be a hard case. That baby girl, my 38, my trigger finger on the cake. Shit you niggas in the face, you gon' see the pretty
I got my shoes high, and my jeans low. I got my socks fitted, you know how I roll.
This is how we roll.
I got my shoes high, and my jeans low. I got my socks fitted, you know how I roll.
This is how we roll.
Since a youngin', I knew I had the flow to succeed. Always kept my nose high, like trying to stop the bleed. Kept running, there was nothing in my way to impede. So ahead, it's safe to say there's no one after me. But I'm trying to rise up while you bathroom bitches sink. Hot like I'm in me, my aroma doesn't stink. Kept my eyes wide open while the blind bitches blink. Not one to have regrets, but my mind always thinks. I never gave a fuck at what them lames ever thought of me. Just kept doing what I do, cause that's just how it ought to be. Money on my mind, you can call it moneyology. You getting it out the ass, but I ain't talking side of me. Denver Bronco money, cause it just stays mile high. Whopper junior bitches, I don't beef a small fry. Little fingers on the side, cause you can't be this fly. Telling me keep my bread up.
So I threw my money in the sky.
Sandstorm. Hey, wall. Classico, I see you. Hey, that's how we roll.
What is going on, my peoples? Welcome to another episode of the Townie Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Sammy. I am joined by none other than the man, Victor. How you doing, bro?
Just living the dream, sir. Happy to be alive. Happy to be here with you again on another beautiful Townie Tuesday.
Heck yeah, it's Townie Tuesday. You know what that means. We're going through all of the great stats, all of the news and info from this past weekend.
Yep.
So let's just dive right into it, Vic. So the March Madness has finally come to a close.
It has.
Unfortunately, my bracket was destroyed a long time ago.
Yeah.
So now first, let's how do you want to do this? Because we had 3 games that occurred since our last episode.
So I think it's only right we have to talk a little bit about the Jalen Suggs shot, right?
Oh yeah, okay, of course. So yeah, let's go through that first.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the craziness that happened Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
UCLA, Gonzaga.
Right.
Run me through what happened in that last game, man.
I mean, so basically, both teams were impressive. UCLA as an 11th seed, there has to be a lot said there that they were literally an incredible shot away from making the finals of the NCAA championship game. I mean, It was really valiant effort on their part. Unfortunately, sometimes the ball bounces that way, and you get kicked on a half-court shot. An interesting stat. It was the first time I noticed, and I'm going to talk about it here in a little bit, but it was the first time in the tournament that Gonzaga had been out-rebounded. So I think that had a factor in that game for sure, and that's why UCLA was able to keep it close. Also, your boy, Juzang was able to do his thing and keep them in it, and unfortunately, Jalen Suggs was better that night.
Yeah, man, I really liked what I saw from Juzang. Mm-hmm. Happy that I saw that pretty early on. I was like, keep an eye out for him. He's pretty good, pretty good wing guy, 6'6", 210, and he kept them cruising throughout. He was a Kentucky prospect. Yep. Ended up transferring to UCLA. He's only a sophomore, so I mean, he might go one more year.
I would if I was him.
Draft. And yeah, but I mean, it's just kind of sneaky to watch out for though going forward. They could be, a top 10 team next year. I know this year they were an 11 seed in the tournament, but I see them much higher for next season.
Yeah, and an incredible thing about Juzang in that game, he played 45 total minutes. I mean, that's for a college kid, that's impressive. Mm-hmm. Not only that, he shot 50% from three of six, and with a total of 29 points. So again, great effort by UCLA. I'm sure they'll be back in the thick of it next year.
Yeah,
lots of those guys coming back.
So let's get to. I mean, Baylor took care of Houston. Was the other game. I mean, not really much to get to there, especially after what happened last night. So last night was the Natty. Mm-hmm. We had Baylor against Gonzaga, 2 number ones. So, I mean, a lot of people who went conservative and picked number ones all the way through. Right. Somebody ended up with a nice little bracket here, which we'll get to in as far as our Townie Sports bracket. But, yeah, man, run me through. Baylor comes out victorious 86-70 over Gonzaga. Just, dude, out of left field. Like, what happened here? What'd you see?
So – what it wasn't even like that close. That was kind of a boring championship game. Unfortunately, Gonzaga made some runs. It was the second straight game in which Gonzaga was not rebounded. But the UCLA game, I think they were only out rebounded by like 2 rebounds. Mm-hmm. In this game, they were out rebounded by 16. So Baylor did it on the glass, but also kept them muted. I felt like that Gonzaga offense could not get anything. And it's not like that they couldn't, they weren't making shots. They were making shots. I mean, they shot 51% from the field, but they shot, I believe it was 29% from 3, which is not typical of them. Usually they're around 36. The turnovers really killed Gonzaga, but more than that, it was the points off turnovers where Baylor had 19 points off turnovers. For the game, which is actually really impressive. And I know at one point it was 13 points off turnovers to none in Baylor's favor. Another thing I saw, Gonzaga only shot 49 attempts. It was their fewest attempts of the tournament. Wow. So as a team, they shot 49 times. That's it. And that means they weren't getting good enough looks to even hoist the ball up.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was really interesting from the get-go. I saw what Baylor was trying to do to them, knowing that they were a very spread-your-floor offense and then cut down into the lanes. You noticed how Baylor was kind of flagging it out. They were really uptight on all the shooters. So, literally, they weren't going to lose this game from three-point land. And I was like, okay, let's see Gonzaga work the ball. And I thought Gonzaga did a really good job to work the ball because they brought it back within, I think, 9 or 10 before the half. And I was like, okay, Gonzaga's working the ball more inside. But then you saw as the game continued on, Baylor just wasn't missing from 3. So you're swapping 3s for 2s, and you're just never going to catch up. You know what I mean? And I think that also had to go with it. The stifling D, not getting the right looks, shooting terribly from 3. Obviously, they did not – Gonzaga did not shoot very well from 3. And I saw at least 3 in particular where it just looked like it looked like Kispert was just – trying for something, I hope this goes in.
Anything. And he shot 5 for 12, 2 from 7 from 3. Yeah. Now, what has been the most important thing that we've talked about before on this podcast of this tournament? And in my opinion, it has been the free throw shooting, right? And for Baylor, they shot 89% from the free throw line last night. That's not typical of Baylor.
Not at all.
They averaged 70% from the line for the season. So they shot unusually well from the free throw line. Everything else was pretty spot on to what they typically do, but that was an outlier for sure. Yeah. And as for Gonzaga's numbers, the only number that was, out of whack there was the shot attempts and the percentage from 3-point. I mean, that was just dismal. And I think that's what really did it, man. And kudos to Baylor for making it difficult for Gonzaga and their great defense there. But that combined with an off night for Gonzaga really killed them. And I think that's what this was. It was an off night and Baylor's great defense.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we're talking about this game as if Baylor wasn't one of the top seeds, and they were. Right. You know what I mean? I think with how Gonzaga looked throughout the entire tournament, you're just expecting Gonzaga to just run away with it. Yeah. I mean, Baylor's a good team too, so I mean, hats off to them. They wanted it more too. Like at the end of the day, yeah, we can talk about all these stats, but when you just watch the game, just from an eye perspective, it just looked like Baylor wanted that game way more than Gonzaga did.
For sure, absolutely. And Baylor doesn't have the names that Gonzaga does. But we'll see what happens moving forward. I'm sure Gonzaga is going to be there next year. Obviously, Suggs is going to be heading to the draft. Kispert's probably going to be heading to the draft. We'll see what happens with the other guys there, Timmy and the others. But I'm sure Gonzaga is going to be there, and I'm sure UCLA is going to be there next year as well.
So what an amazing March Madness! I'm super pumped. You got really into it. We want to give a special congrats to Kyle Seitz, who narrowly edged out Chris, aka Bird Person, on winning our Townie Sports bracket. I will be sending your money after the show. I'll be getting your information so I can get you that gift card. Also, thanks to everybody that participated. Average Kurt, I know you wanted West Virginia to win, but it just didn't work out that way. But thanks to everybody that participated. We'll be planning some other type of events like this going forward. But Vic, what did you think of this tournament overall?
I thought it was good, man. There was upset city. There was drama. There was so many different storylines going through it. Right? You had UCLA. You had Loyola. You had the 16th or the lower seeds at one point. The 15th seed beating Ohio State. That shows I forget who it was. That's how long ago it was. But no, I loved it. It was the most upsets I think I've ever seen during a March Madness, and I don't think we're going to have a tournament like this again next year. I think it's going to go back to the norm. But I was excited to see UCLA's run, and the Gonzaga team wasn't Duke, so they were easily lovable. Unfortunately, Baylor won it out at the end. I had Gonzaga in my bracket, but it is what it is. I enjoyed it. What did you think?
I'm actually just really happy that the tournament turned out like this in a year where I told you to watch the tournament so heavily, because we're doing this. Yeah. So I'm glad it was good. Imagine if it was not that great of a tournament and you're kind of sucked. I probably don't want to do this type of coverage anymore. And
that was awesome.
It would have blew. But no, I thought it was a really great tournament. Like you said, I don't really see this happening again. One of my predictions going into the tournament was you do see a lot of 12s. You do see the occasional 11 seeds going in. I did not expect the 15 at all.
Right. That's a treat.
And to think they could have kept going. They lost off a last second three. They were one shot away, like you mentioned earlier about the Gonzaga UCLA game. It's one ball just didn't go their way, and they got knocked out. We could be talking about Oral Roberts in this final right now, potentially. You know what I mean? If that one dropped, but
and what a run by Oral Roberts too. I mean. And it gave us other household names, right? Your boy there, the guy that's
Adams.
Adams, yeah, that guy. Man, I think is Adams a senior or is O'Banner a senior? I think they got to go this year anyway. But if we see them in the tournament next year, I'm gonna definitely watch and root for Oral Roberts.
Yeah. That wraps up the March Madness. Again, thank you everybody for participating in our tourney bracket. So Vic, let's get into the bread and butter. Let's get into your freaking favorite team, because it's not the Boston Celtics right now. It's the Utah Jazz. Hit me with some. What's up with these Utah Jazz, bro?
So surging again, right? Currently on a 9-game win streak. Second longest streak for them of the season. During this 9-game stretch, I have a few things for you here. They lead the league in points per game. They're third in three-point field goal percentage, 40%. Third in defensive rating, second in offensive rating. And then as far as players during these last 5 games, you have Donovan Mitchell, who's averaging 28 points on 53% shooting from the field, 51% from three. Man, he's making half of his threes. It's pretty impressive. But he's not doing it alone, right? He's got Derek Favors there. He's got Boyan. He's got a lot of different pieces there, help him. But nobody that jumps out to you, right? I mean, Donovan Mitchell is a superstar in this league, and I'm going to talk about that ESPN list that came out earlier today, the top 10 under 25 or whatever. But I believe he was number 3 or 4 on that list, and he was deservedly so. He's legitimately carrying this team on his back. So, good for the Utah Jazz. I mean, Mike Conley's there, but it's essentially Mitchell's team, and he's doing what we would expect, Jason Tatum to do if he didn't have Jaylen Brown or anybody else. So, good for the Utah Jazz, and I'm the biggest Utah Jazz fan. But another stat for you I wanted to hit you with, okay? Average win margin, over under 15. You probably already saw it on the outline.
No, I didn't. This is yours, so this is all you, bro. I'm going to say under.
The average win margin during this 9-game stretch is 19.3.
What?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Last 5 games, 19.3. So, I mean, the Utah Jazz, did you see what they did to the Orlando Magic last night?
I did not. That's why I'm really curious now that you said 19.3, like Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that didn't help the average, but they beat the Orlando Magic. I think it was by it was 137-91. We were like 40 points. So yeah, this is a team that can score. Obviously, they're second in offensive rating during that 9-game stretch, but also they can give it to you on that defensive end, right? So they can do it on both levels. They hustle. This feels like a 2004 Red Sox team, man, where it's just a bunch of guys just doing it. Granted they had their stars, Manny, Poppy, Kurt Schilling, I guess, and Pedro, but they also had the other guys that stepped up when they needed to, like Boyan, Derek Favors, Mike Conley. So excited to see them going forward. I just had to, I couldn't go too long. Couldn't go 2 podcasts without talking about my Utah Jazz.
Jeez, 137-91. Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's what happens.
So what are your expectations for them for the rest of the season? As far as playoffs and that stuff.
If they don't make the Western Conference Finals, in my opinion, it's a disappointment.
Currently the 1 seed right now, right?
Right, of course, yeah. Granted, LeBron's been out, AD has been out, but you know what? The Clippers are there, and everybody loved the Clippers. Now look how they're doing. So yeah, I if they don't make the Western Conference Finals and take the Lakers or whoever, in my opinion, the Lakers to 7 games, that's a disappointment.
Oh, okay.
What do you think?
Here.
I never asked you what you think. I want to know what you think.
For the Jazz?
Yeah.
I think I was going to say Western Conference Finals as well. I don't want to just piggyback off what you said, but being a 1 seed, hold on, let me pull up these standings real quick. I want to just make a case for them right now. So,
they're 1. I think Phoenix is 2.
Yeah, Phoenix is 2. Clippers are 3. Nuggets are 4. Lakers are 5. Obviously, I don't see the Lakers staying at 5. I see them potentially moving up to 3 if they can. I think that'll probably be as high as they could probably make it if everybody comes back. Portland, Dallas, Memphis, San Antonio, and Golden State. That's through 10.
Right.
You look at this. Maybe Phoenix, if they go on a tear, like we've seen in the playoffs recently, you got a team that gets really hot. I just don't see anybody else other than the Lakers potentially putting the Jazz down, in my opinion.
Right. Actually, I need to correct myself. The Jazz did lose last night. I wrote this outline yesterday. The Jazz did lose last night to the Mavericks, 111-103. But my point still stands. They won 9 in a row. They are 9-1 in their last 10. this team is good. They're surging at the perfect time. There's only 22 games left roughly in the season. So I'm looking forward to some playoff basketball coming forward. And I think that we're going to have some different faces up top.
I just want to make a quick comment about your phrasing about a bunch of guys just doing it.
I feel like I have one of these every show.
Every pod, you guys.
Yeah, he's long. He's long. I like how long.
But all right, let's switch gears here to something a little more disappointing. These are a bunch of guys that aren't doing it. So the Celtics, they get a little bit back on track, and I guess I should put it from my perspective that I don't think they're a bunch of guys doing it. I know you're a little bit higher on them since the trade. So tell me what you see since we've made that trade.
They're winners of the last 4 of their last 6. They got 2 straight. They're playing Philadelphia right now, and they're currently leading 31-29 without Evan Fournier. Some bad losses to Dallas and New Orleans, but Dallas is a good team now, and New Orleans is a playoff team probably as well. Both of them were down early in the fourth quarter, or early in the game, big, and came back to actually make it a game in the fourth quarter, which was great. I feel like they do this all the time where they'll lose interest and kind of just go on cruise control and think that their talent can bring them back into the game. I don't think that's been the case this season. I think that's what they think, and that's why we've seen so many losses. But during the last 5 games, the Celtics have the 5th best defensive rating, so that's something that has gone up at least in these last 5. Not only that, Jason Tatum in the last 5 games is averaging 26 points. Jaylen Brown's averaging 22. Kemba's got 17. So Kemba's starting to come back a little bit. The percentages are falling a little bit for Jaylen Brown, which is fine because we never expected him to stay at that high level. And he's regressing a little bit more, but not to where it's like, oh my God. He's still hitting from deep, 41% in the last 5, and still doing it on the defensive end as well. He's a hustle player. That's what he does. But I know that ESPN dropped him to 15th in the rankings. I don't think they're the 15th best team in the NBA. I think they're a little bit better than that. And I think Fournier really has made a difference, even though we did lose him to COVID. And it is one thing to point out, like you pointed out to me earlier today, Sammy, we have the most COVID minutes in the NBA. The most players lost to COVID. So, I think they're still the best. I think the best basketball is still ahead for the Celtics.
I really hope so. And I have been on this whole tip of like, we need to wait, we need to hope. And I'm still there with Kemba. Like, I still see a lot of stuff from Kemba where people are, kind of bashing him and giving him the runaround with like, oh, he's got to be better. I'm like, no, he's giving us what he should be giving us.
Right.
I think, based on what I'm seeing, like, I think for me and I probably for you, like, they're just consistently inconsistent. Like, I see 2 games they lose because of just lack of effort. It's not because they're not good. It's because of lack of effort. And you see, like, my example was the Dallas game and the New Orleans game.
Mm-hmm.
They just go 2 quarters just chilling. Like, they're just like no contested shots. And then for, 10 or 8 to 10 minutes, you see just this defense come out of nowhere. Obviously, I know they can't do that type of defense for a full 48. Right. I get it. But we go from like nothing to like probably some of the best defense we'll ever see ever. You know what I mean? Like in one game, but then they come up short. And I think another thing to point out was I was looking to bash them with so many different stats, which you ended up finding some good ones in the last 5 games, last 6 games, which they are winning games. So I like that you did point that out. But also, real quick, I just want to ask, I know we got some people watching us right now. We really appreciate you watching. Please, hit us with a like, hit us with a subscribe. It'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you so much for tuning in. But, yeah, let me get back to what I was talking about with the Celtics. As far as their assist numbers, we have a lot of ball stoppers. And I think that just goes with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum kind of coming into their own. For the season, the Celtics are 23rd in assists. Now, I went back kind of like what you did, where you wanted to see how they've been doing in the last 5 games. I went to 10, and I
Right.
saw that they actually improved. They're 8th in assists in the last 10 games, and
Okay.
they're at 26.2 assists per game, which I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
they are showing improvement
They have
in
been.
that sense. I think Fournier has definitely been a difference maker. That's so nice to get a guy that drops 15 to 20 points off the bench rather than see threes all across the board, right? Like
Right.
3 points per person. You see one guy that's dropping 17 to 20. You're like, okay,
And
thank
rookies,
God.
and I'm tired of seeing rookies and second-year players coming off the bench. Fournier has made the biggest difference, I think. And unfortunately, again, we just lost him, which sucks.
Yeah.
But we'll be coming back. We'll have him back eventually, and I think he'll make a difference then. The fact that I know Grant Williams still has to get minutes because we have a lack of, bigs on the team, but I hate watching that guy play so much. It's the worst. I'm sure he's a great guy, but he can take his 28% field goal percentage and just go away for a little bit. That'd be nice. But I like the bench with Fournier. I think he's gonna provide the jolt. For a little bit before the trade deadline happened, I forgot who it was that mentioned it, but they were saying how that team was starting to feel like the 08 or the Celtics before they got Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett. Whereas
Talk about the 08 Celtics again.
No, we can bring that back to the podcast. But no, it's starting to feel like the Antoine Walker, Paul Pierce Celtics, where it was all stopping and everything was all Paul Pierce. Everything was on Antoine Walker, and that was it pretty much, and everybody else was just there.
And it's like another thing I wanted to point out too was they're dead last in personal fouls drawn in the last 10 games. Now, obviously, part of that can be on the refs, which we're Boston fans, so we're gonna bitch about refs all day, every day. But we're 19th in personal fouls drawn on the year. They're settling for so many jumpers. And I don't know about you, the last couple games when you see Jason Tatum go to the hole, like it's a totally different game. Like
it really is.
It's a totally different game.
But some of those shots that he hits is just incredible too.
Obviously, but he settles for them too much, I guess is my point.
Oh yeah, I can definitely see that. I think he does get. I think actually him and Jaylen Brown both don't get the benefit of the doubt from the refs. They both have a stigma as a complainers, and they do. They complain a lot.
Too much.
I mean, how many times he's in? The worst part is that Jason Tatum is robbed off on JB because JB never used to be like that. And now he's starting to do it this season. I mean, he got a tech, for God's sakes, for complaining to the ref that he didn't get a call. So, I'm with you. I think that we are starting to see the ball rolling a little bit, and we are starting to see the fire lit under these guys' asses. So, I'm hoping for at least an Eastern Conference final run. I think if we get everybody back, I think we can do it. I honestly think
have the talent. I don't think the talent's ever been doubted. Honestly, I don't think the talent's ever been doubted. I think it's just the consistency and how these guys will work together.
Right.
That's been my thing the whole year.
Right, and sometimes it's like, do these guys even like each other? That's the worst part.
I know.
So we'll see. We can hope for the best, Sammy.
We can just bitch every week on this podcast about it, or we can celebrate every week on this podcast about it.
Yes.
But anyway, one more before we get to our friggin' special hot guest. No homo. Phoenix Suns heating up. Hit me with it, man.
So the Phoenix Suns are the other team in the West that's kind of surging right now. They're 9-1 in their last 10, and have won, I believe, 6 in a row at this point. A team that I feel like doesn't get a lot of love. I don't hear a lot about the Phoenix Suns too much on ESPN or Fox Sports, because they are the Suns. Now, there's a few reasons why they're doing so well. Number one, for the season, they are second in offensive rating and fifth in defensive rating, and that's for the season. Still super impressive. Devin Booker is still proving that he's one of the best scorers in the league, and he can consistently do it on every level. In the last 10 games, for example, he's averaging 27 points on 50% shooting, and that's pretty good for a guard because most of those shots are coming either on jump shots in the mid range or 3-pointers. So very impressive there. A great free throw shooting team as well. Most of their guys can shoot 85% from the free throw line. At least they're crunch time guys. DeAndre Ayton is making an impact. He's averaging 15 points a game on 64% shooting. I think Chris Paul has had a great impact on him, who himself is averaging 16 points and still doing it at his age. And I know you love Chris Paul as a defender. He's great. I thought he was great as a defender. I didn't think he could do it on the offensive end still, but he is proving me wrong, averaging 8.6 assists as well. Now, the X factor that I wanted to talk about in his last 10 games is Jay Crowder, okay? Jay Crowder giving them solid minutes off the bench, right? He's averaging 11 points on 43% shooting, but also 41% from three from Jay Crowder. And I don't know if you remember Jay Crowder when he got to the Celtics. He was not a great three-point shooter. And for him to be averaging above 40% is super impressive. On top of that, he's doing it on the defensive end, averaging a steal and a block. So I'm excited about this Suns team. I think they're good. I think Chris Paul's presence in the locker room has changed the dynamic, and they feel like a playoff team now, whereas last year they were sneaking in.
Just so happy you're finally coming around on Chris Paul. That's all I really gotta add on the Phoenix Suns.
It only took 50 years.
Huh?
It only took 50 years. How long has he been in the league?
No, but I mean, to add to your point, like I know what Chris Paul brings to a team.
Right.
And you see that every single time he gets added to a roster, he doesn't make the team worse. If anything, he makes the team better. Look what OKC did. They overachieved last season. 100% that team shouldn't have been there. And with his leadership there, they made a run. And I thought this would be a great fit for all these young guys on this team. Like, he's a great leader. I think he's an awesome leader. Not to mention, he can still ball. So yeah, I'm glad you pointed all that out on him, especially for DeAndre Ayton being a budding star in the league, or a good center, power forward, and it's nice to see.
And another thing is you brought up the Thunder. Without him, they're 13th now in the Western Conference. So and 20-30 on the season. So he does make a difference, and there's something to be said by having an older player, on that team, because last year it was all young guys, right? Kind of like how the Celtics are right now, where it's all young guys. And then they just got that solid veteran that knows how to win. Obviously never won it on the big stage, but knows how to win the regular season. And here we are. They're second in the West and probably going to finish in the top four. And one thing I did want to mention is that they still can get better. Okay. DeAndre Ayton is only I was looking up his pick and roll numbers, and they are hella impressive. He's averaging 65% on the pick and roll as the roll man. He's only doing it 16% of his possessions. So averaging 66% on that, okay? And he's getting a free throw out of it 17% of the time. So he's an 80-something% free throw shooter as well. So he needs to be rolling to the basket more and running that pick and roll with Chris Paul, and I think they can be even better. Yeah. Everybody knows he's a great putback guy. He's a great cutting guy. But I would like to see him do a little bit more in the pick and roll.
Yeah, perfectly said. So, you want to get to the MLB, Vic? You down for this next section?
Let's bring him on. Let's bring on our buddy.
All right, we're bringing on one of the original trio of Townie Sports, kind of how our name got started. We used to just text each other, bitching about the Celtics, bitching about Mookie Betts getting traded, pretty much bitching about everything. One of the original trio, our really good friend, Tarek TK. How are you doing, bro?
What's up, guys? Thank you for having me. It's been a long time coming.
Welcome, sir. Happy to have you here.
For a little while.
First time, long time, as they say up north.
I love the background, too. Are you out on the patio there? Where are you? Where's the stogie at?
Since you two are both transplants, I figured for my appearance I'd join the crew down in Florida. And, I really should have had a stove. That would have been a good touch.
Yeah.
Wanted to get you on here to talk a little bit of the friggin' Boston Red Sox this season, and I wanted to bring you on because Vic is the negative Nancy on these Red Sox, but I wanted to bring you on because I think me and you are citing a little bit of the same. We're a little more hyped about the Red Sox this year, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, about this year, yes and no. About I think where we are in kind of where the franchise is right now, I'm very excited.
Okay.
This year, are we a playoff team? If you were to ask me, honestly, I don't think we are. We're gonna have to score 10 runs a game to even be so, but I think it'll be fun. Um, I just had to look up who's pitching for us today. Like I Googled Martin Perez just to learn a little bit about him.
Perez Day.
That seems to be the theme with everyone that takes the hill right now is having to do a Wikipedia search before tuning in for the Red Sox game. So I think that's going to be a theme this year, especially with who knows when Sale is going to be back, and it's just becoming tougher and tougher to depend on him. I mean, he's a beast, but he's a string bean, and he's injured all the time, it seems like. And anyways, I'm getting into Victor territory now. I'm really excited about this team for our offense, and I'm a big Heim Bloom believer. So I'll go with that for starters.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. I mean, Vic, you got anything to add here?
No, I just my issue has never been about the team itself or Heim Bloom. My issue has been with the ownership and the inability to pay guys that we homegrown, and the management before Heim Bloom got there is Dave Dombrowski. So he's a piece of shit, and just everything he does, like they win a championship, and next thing you know, he leaves the team, and the team goes in the shitter for 5 or 10 years. I mean, look at the Detroit Tigers right now, and if we are gonna not pay people, like,
but the Detroit Tigers didn't win a championship.
Yes, they did.
No, they didn't. They never did.
All right. Well, then at least they got to the World Series, but
we beat them in 2013.
But we won a ring.
Yeah. So okay, and I'm happy about that. Great. I'm happy with our one ring, but I want sustained success. I want dynasties. We expect dynasties. All right. And we expect to be at least in the hunt every year, which we are not going to be for a very long time. Let's be honest. I'm looking at this lineup right here. We have Arroyo, Verdugo, JD Martinez, Bogarts, Devers, Vasquez, Gonzalez, Renfroe, and Cordero. How many of those guys are going to be here in 5 years?
Perfect. Let me get into that then. I want to get into that. You just mentioned this lineup, and it's a perfect segue into the comment that I wanted to make and talk about with this Red Sox team. Okay. So going into this season, I was not confident, but I was more like I knew this team would be interesting to watch, more so than anything. Mm-hmm. And I wanted some stats to back up my claim. I actually bet a couple Yankees fans that I think this Red Sox team this year, can take 3 out of 5 batting categories better than the Yankees at the end of the season.
Great. 3
out of 5. And I backed it up because I looked at, so our team was one of the worst teams in baseball last year, right? Just bottom. We were, that was one of the worst Red Sox teams we've probably seen in a really, really long time, in our generation at least.
Yeah.
But if you look at last season, the Red Sox in hitting were 12th in home runs, 6th in the AL.
Okay.
11th in RBIs in the MLB, 5th in the AL.
Okay.
3rd in batting average in the MLB, 1st in the AL. 10th in the MLB in on-base percentage, 3rd in the AL. 8th in the MLB in slugging, 3rd in the AL, and 9th in OPS, and 3rd in the AL. So this showed me that this lineup, although there were some holes, was extremely, extremely serviceable. Right. I mean, yes, it was a shortened season. I get that. But, I mean, overall, with the team numbers, everybody had a shortened season, and I think we had to deal with it as well. And I think it just showed. I mean, but then you look at the other side of the spectrum, right? Why was our team so bad? The Red Sox were 28th in ERA, dead last in WHIP, and dead last in opponent batting average. I think opponents bat like 280 against us.
Here's my thing is you were on this podcast was last week, ranting at Bucks fans or making fun of Bucks fans for saying, "Oh, I got to keep the band together." That's exactly what Dave Dombrowski did when he paid Nate Eovaldi and David Price that kind of money. And look what it's doing to us right now. I mean, our farm system is depleted. There's no hot prospect on the rise like there was in the Ben Sherrington days, where it was like, oh, we suck, but we got Bogarts. This kid Bogarts going to be great. And then, it was Mookie Betts, and then it was Rafael Devers, and now it's who's that guy? Who is that guy on the horizon that's supposed to take the Red Sox over the edge?
Bobby
I don't
Dalbec.
know, but yeah,
Tristan
okay.
Cassis.
See,
Yes.
I don't.
Next Judge. Dude's a beast. He's huge.
He's gonna get hurt all
6'5",
the
first
time,
baseman,
really.
tons of power. He might be. I don't know. No guarantees. But no, I think I don't disagree with anything you're saying, Vic. Like, if you look at the AL East, I was looking earlier today, top 100 prospects in America, the Rays have 8 of them, which is actually a good thing for us because we just got their whole, he's kind of our chief baseball officer now.
Yeah.
Yankees have 4. I think the Orioles and Jays both had 4 or 5. So yeah, we're the lowest in the AL East for that. We're starting at the ground floor when it comes to the farm right now. And I think with Heim coming in, like, clearly it's a different tune than Dave, and he's kind of inheriting, like, the old administration's problems.
Mm-hmm.
And he had to come in and can we just talk about the balls on someone to come in and trade Mookie Betts with him like his first month?
I don't think they had a choice.
Like, that is bananas.
I think it was a cash dump.
Yeah, that was all ownership. I don't think any GM comes in here and says, I'm going to trade Mookie Betts. There's no way. He had to have been getting put now.
Well, I
think it was a David Price.
Obviously, it's not a single threaded thing, right? It's, you mentioned before, we signed Nate Eovaldi, who's still on the books for $17 million a year. We re-signed guys like Steve Pearce. Like, I remember after 2018, Dombrowski was signing everyone back. I was like, okay, it's cool and all. We just won a World Series with these guys, but, like, do we really want them all for another 4 years? And I think as a fan base, we could all collectively say, no, we didn't. So, we were about to be going into 2020, the 3rd year into the luxury tax, which, if you don't know how it works, basically when you're in the luxury tax for 3 more consecutive years, that baseline tax gets higher and higher. So we would have been at the point where the first year in the luxury tax, you're paying 20% once you go over the luxury tax. Mm-hmm. We would have been in the 3rd year paying 50% tax on every single dollar over that threshold. So Dombrowski kind of put us in a point where, like, Heim had to come in and say, shoot, like, if I'm going to clear out this budget, which is Price, and I can't afford to sign, he probably looked at it and said, could we afford to sign Mookie? Sure. But our farm is so depleted. This isn't the NBA where we build around one superstar. We need to have a full team around this guy, or at least a good team around this guy. And we're just too thin to support around him. So I think that's why he made the decision. And it sucks. And I don't think we're ever going to get over it. It kind of reminds me of, like, Bruins fans when Tyler Seguin got dealt. You still hear about it in Boston today that, we should have kept Seguin. It's going to be like that forever with Mookie, even if we do win another ring. But I don't know. I can't blame the guy. Like, that's the cards he was dealt. And I think you got to rebuild at some point.
No, I don't blame Chaim Bloom for doing what he did. I don't think it was his decision or his intention to come in here and just start trading away our best players. Again, it all comes back to what Dave Dombrowski does, and I can harp on Dave Dombrowski all day and how he's one of the most overrated GMs in history. He wins, and the Tigers won when he was there, and the Red Sox won. Maybe not, they didn't win the championship, but they were a winning ball club, and they were in the playoffs consistently every year. But he's not built for long term, and I'm excited that Chaim is actually in here, making moves like this and getting guys. What was upsetting me at first was that when he was dealing these guys, when he was dealing Benintendi, when he was dealing Mookie Betts, I get the Mookie thing. He wasn't getting the best prospects because of David Price, right? And we had to dump that salary. But at least for Benintendi and the other guys that were dealt, like, you'd expect some kind of return here on them, and I just didn't see that.
You look at the Benintendi case. TK, you can chime in whenever if you think I'm wrong. But I think with the Benintendi case, he was showing, like, a lot of, like, the opposite of promise, I guess I should say. I can't think of the right word. Like, he came out so hot when he first came into the league, and then he just declined really bad. And I think with the way the team wanted him to focus on his power more so than how he could get contact. It really screwed him up completely. Do you agree?
I think so too. Like he even came out, like I saw an interview he did like right after the trade, and he admitted like, hey, like I bulked up, I don't know, 20 pounds. I mean, he got jacked going into that 2019 season. And he just like, what's his frame? 5'9". He's a pretty slender guy. Like I think it kind of probably messed with his swing and tried to make him something he wasn't. Which I think is why like that trade, that one kind of irks me a little, because it's like, well, what if he did have the chance to like slim down again and like play this year? Like what kind of Tendy would we have seen? And I mean, I guess we'll see in Kansas City, but that one
he's gonna rake bombs
because I think he's still a great player. I think he's still a great player. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and again, I agree with everything TK said. You got to at least give it a shot with the new regime. And I'm not too familiar with the situation. Did we deal him to dump for salary? Was that another salary play, or why
he wasn't that much on the books?
But that's what I'm saying. Like, why would you get rid of him? And if we're looking at like notable,
and we got a 6'5", 250 guy. Like we traded one guy that didn't want that couldn't be a power hitter for this guy that they're expecting or they're saying could be the next David Ortiz, which, obviously that's blasphemous. That'll never happen again. But I mean, it's just funny how they trade a guy that he even wanted to, like you guys were saying, we could potentially give him the opportunity to slender down and maybe become the player that he's supposed to be, more of a fight tool out, can do whatever you want in the field, for a guy that's just going to hit 210 and get you 40 bombs. I mean,
right. Well, and let me ask you this. Do you guys think that we are going to be this team moving forward under the Keim regime? Or, I mean, just looking at notable free agents coming up in 2021, 2022. I mean, Freddie Freeman's coming up, Todd Frazier, a little bit over the edge, but Anthony Rizzo, Carlos Correa. Like, are we going to be a team that makes an effort to get these bigger name guys still? Or are we just going to be are we going to play like Tampa Bay ball where we're trying to build up from the farm system completely?
No,
or is this just a one-year thing?
Like I don't think we're the Boston Rays at all. I think if anything, we're going to be closer to the Dodgers, where we're not going to give up too much of a young core, at least, right? Like there's somewhere between being the Rays and then being the Dave Dombrowski Red Sox, where hey, everybody's for sale. We'll deal anybody to get a player today.
Right.
I think and the reason why I bring up the Dodgers is Andrew Friedman's their executive baseball operations there. He was in Tampa Bay, and Bloom worked for him. So I think it's a page right out of his book. Like, build a young core, build up the Seager, the Billingsley, the Bueller, all those young guys that are still at the Dodgers today, and then you can afford to either then you can afford to deal one of them for a Mookie Betts or sign a big free agent like Machado when they signed him. And all of a sudden you kind of have that balance between young core and the ability to make a splash, which, when he was with the Rays, you can't do that. But if you combine that with the budget of the Red Sox and the fact that we're now under the luxury tax, I'm very interested for that free agency next year.
Yeah, I'd be like, I gotta think that we're gonna be targeting pitchers, but there's really no. I mean, Clayton Kershaw, Zach Greinke, who's 38. I mean, there's no big name. Dylan Bundy, Trevor Bauer are a few of them.
I was listening to piggyback off what Tarek is saying. Is I was listening to Keim Bloom actually talk about the whole situation, because obviously he gets asked about the Mookie Betts situation and kind of the current state of the Red Sox. I'm sure he's pissed. I'm sure that's not he's got to expect that type of question, right? Like, you trade the best player in baseball. But I mean, he did make the good points of talking about how when you look at where this team was financially and you look at what you want to be in a long-term perspective, because you don't want to just be the Red Sox, like you guys are saying, for 2 years and then be trash for 10 because you're signing all these big name free agents to long-term big money deals. And then they lose value over time. They get worse because they age, and you're not going to get the same value. He had to weigh all of those options, and also seeing what the future of the free agent market also looks like.
Right.
And seeing, is it worth it to keep this, knowing I can put things around him? And actually, to exactly what TK said, he did mention that like it's not a one-player league. Like baseball is not a one-player league. You look at we would have had Mookie Betts, and maybe we can say JD Martinez, but you look at the rest of this roster. With those two, are we going to win maybe a few more games?
Well, maybe not the pitching, but we still have Devers and Bogarts. Those are still two pretty good players as well. I mean, Devers could be a future All-Star, and Bogarts too.
Could be, but we're talking about currently and going forward, like. And obviously David Price, right? That situation really, really sucks. I mean, you have zero leverage in that case. Zero. Zero leverage.
It was fun to watch David Price do his thing in the World Series, but ultimately not worth what happened in the end. So it is what it is. And now we're slated to be the Red Sox of old, where we're toiling around, trying to get into the playoffs while the Yankees just continually make the playoffs, and we got to watch it from far.
Oh, stop it. Those days are long gone. That's not coming back again. We're not going to have that drought forever. It's not. Yankees are our daddy. Like, get that out of here. Maybe this year. And I mean, the Yankees have done a good job rebuilding too. Like, I think they kind of did, to their credit, like they did a similar thing to what the Dodgers did. Like they had a lot of, if you think back to like 2015, 2016, right? They, A-Rod and Teixeira were aging. Jeter was gone. The days of the original four were long gone, and they focused more on youth, and they had opportunities to sign big free agents like Elvis Andrews back in 2016, but they went for like Didi Gregorius instead, and they built some homegrown talent by I think they traded Chapman, for example, to get like Gleyber Torres too. So they focused
and
more
then
on
got
their
Chapman
farm
next
to
year.
rebuild. And that's pretty gangster move, getting like Chapman back the next year. Like,
that was baller as hell, yeah.
Give respect where respect is due, right?
You got to tip your cap to that one.
Yeah, and then then we played Frank Sinatra all around Yankee Stadium in 2018. But I digress. But I think going back to pitching for a second, like, and I think the three of us were texting about this earlier this week. Like, one thing I'm excited for is, let me ask you this: like, when is the last time the Red Sox had a homegrown pitching talent, like a starting pitcher or a relief pitcher? And I think, like, I was about to say it, and Sammy was like, John Lester, and it really was, and that was what. I mean, Lester was Lester on that 07 roster? I always forget. I want to say he might have been his rookie year. Okay, so that was 13, 14 years ago, right? That we've really developed a homegrown pitching prospect. Papelbon at the same time, Daniel Bard. So, I mean, there was a good amount of prospects back then. He was a good setup man for a while, right? Yeah.
Joe Kelly. That's like just Joe Kelly. That's the same guy.
Yeah, he's not on the same level, but the point I'm making is, like, Tampa comes from Tampa has a track record of, I mean, Price came through there, James Shields came through there, Blake Snell. I think I want to say Archer was a trade, but nonetheless, like, was still brought up through that organization and
Longoria
became a side level player. And then, I mean, just in terms of core players, like on the position side, they had Longoria, Carl Crawford, atrocious in Boston, but was just filthy in Tampa Bay. I mean,
BJ Upton.
I just think that culture of, kind of as like a lean company that can't spend, they have to build these players homegrown to match that with the budget of the Red Sox and kind of, bring that consistency that us in New England are used to, like the Patriots.
Yeah.
That really excites me. And that's kind of what you were saying, Vic. And forget this up and downness. Like 20 years ago, if you had told us we'd bring 4 rings in the next decade, the next 20 years, and we're pissed off about the Red Sox, I would have slapped myself across the face. But that's where we're at,
Yeah.
No, and as a former employee of the Rays, you have the inside information on how that organization works. So it's good to have your take on it.
Yeah, as a ticket sales representative for the toughest sale in season tickets, I know all about how trades are done in the front office.
We didn't have
to.
Yeah,
I did run on the field in a bottle too, so
Oh,
I know.
I was there and it was hilarious. And you jumped on somebody.
Yeah, Raymond. I did not get along with Raymond during my tenure there, and I believe that's why it was a short tenure. So
Yep.
go Sox.
Go Sox.
Yeah. So I got some quick hitting questions for you, TK, kind of about this season. I know we talked mostly about, kind of the Red Sox going forward as a whole. So this is kind of like an MLB question. Mets played their first game last night. I don't know if you watched the Red Sox game, right? Last night on ESPN against the Rays.
Yes, I did.
So did you notice how Lindor's first bat, they cut the Red Sox game just to show his first at bat as a Met?
Sure. Yeah, it's love it. Just get the Red Sox getting cut out for the Mets. That's where we're at right now. Sick.
Yeah. So my question to you was, 10 years, $341 million. This guy's getting paid more than Fernando Tatis. I'm pissed about it, and I'm trying to have more people on my team about this whole situation with Francisco Lindor. Not saying he's not a good player or not deserving, but I can name 10 shortstops better than him that deserve more money than that.
Lindor's legit. I guess how old is he at this point?
27.
27. Okay, so not terrible. He'll play for 5 or 6 years out of that contract and still potentially be in prime. There's been worse contracts out there, but that's a shit ton of money. And I think DeGrom was probably just begging their GM to get him some damn run support.
Yeah.
That's why they did it. But I think he's a good player. It's be interesting to see.
Off the top of my head, I'm paying Trey Turner. I'm paying Tatis more than that. I'm probably paying Trevor Story more than that. But that's just me.
Tatis, I'm definitely paying more than that. Tatis is a absolute beast. He'll be the future of this league.
Don't be hating. Don't be hating, Lindor. Get your money, brother. Get your money.
I'm happy for him, but I'm just saying from the Mets' perspective, I feel like it's a lot. Now, TK, this is a good question. So I know you're not so high on the team this year. They're going to be an interesting team to watch. But the Red Sox over-under win total right now is 80.5. What are you doing with that bet?
I'll take the over on it. I think our offense is good enough to get there. I like Devers coming back and having a good year. He had an off year last year. JD had an off year. I think I like Verdugo. I think he could be a very good player. So I just can't see our offense putting up less than 80 wins. But I think it's going to be very close. I think it's low 80s.
Yeah,
I'm taking the over. I think 85. That's my sweet spot. So, but yeah,
I'll take the under.
You're gonna take the under?
Of course,
I would take the under.
Of course you would.
And
all of that I said about this team, and then what Tarek is saying about them hitting, not convincing you enough that they can win more than 81.
They have no pitching. They have no pitching.
81 games.
All right, well, we'll see.
Erod's coming back.
Erod, oh, really? Right now we're talking about Eduardo Rodriguez come back. Come on, dude, get the fuck out of here.
But no, you're telling me 81. Like, you don't think they can win 81 games?
How many did they win last? Let's see. What was the pace? Because I know it was COVID, so they won how many games last year?
They would have won like 75 at that pace.
And do you think
on pace?
24. All right.
I almost want to toss last season out for everybody, whether you did good or bad. It's such a weird year.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's fair, but that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, you lose your manager at the beginning of the year, right? And then
And I was gonna say too, the A's made the playoffs last year, and they're 0-5 right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's true. Well,
but anyway, we got a little bit of time before we sign off, and I know you guys wanted to touch on the Masters that we got coming this weekend. I'll let you guys take it. I love watching the Masters, but I can't really give super analysis like you guys. I know you guys were teaching me how to golf this past weekend, and it was awesome. Thank you so much, Tarek, for your sensei-isms to teach me how to swing a little better.
I'm just gonna tell you all, Sammy has a lot of potential in his golf swing, especially 100 yards in, was landing shots right on right on the pin 5 feet away, and never seen anyone more excited. It was a blessing to see.
And I've never seen anybody angrier at water in my life than
Yeah, I hate water on the golf course, especially last weekend.
And just a shout out to Kurt. I see you in there, Kurt. I see you saying that I heckle T-ball players. That is actually factually correct. But back onto the Masters, I do want to say, I had to touch on it, at least that this is one of the most premier. This is a premier sporting event of the year. One of the most, I would say. Everybody tunes in for the Masters. It sucks that Tiger's not going to be here, but there are still some guys in there, and I just wanted to let you know my prediction, and who I would be going with, and that would be Jordan Spieth. You can get Jordan Spieth right now at 10-1 odds right now, and I think for his odds, I think Jordan Spieth is the pick. So I just wanted to make that announcement here on the pod, so that we can revisit it next week and tell me how stupid I am.
That's my favorite pastime.
Yeah.
What about you, TK? Any bets on the Masters this weekend?
I like. I don't know enough to really say about who's like the front runners, but I'm going Tony Finau. I'm a big Tony Finau guy. I think he takes it this year.
Sure.
Right. Just a great guy. I think he deserves it. That's all I'm going with.
Didn't he break his ankle and still kept playing?
That's ball.
Maybe I have no idea, but
pretty sure
possibly.
All right,
it's possible.
Big golf guy.
Big golf guy. I'll stick to him in the water.
Thank you so much for coming on with us, bro.
This weekend, if anyone's game. Yeah, thank you for having me, guys. That was a lot of fun. Big fan of the show. Love what you guys are doing.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate
it, man. But yeah, as for the show, thank you everybody for tuning in. Average Kurt, you're always welcome in the chat. Thank you so much. Sean, Chris Nolan, Nick Edson, basketball, loves Hanley Ramirez. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you to all the listeners in the chat for keeping the action going. We love you and the support you give each and every one of us every week. Just want to mention though, we see some of you lurkers out there. We see you. And we'd like you to just like and subscribe. Like, just do it. Just like, subscribe. Like, tap, subscribe. Very easy. Just tap it. Yeah, just very easy. So like and subscribe to the channel, Lights Up Productions. We'll be live at 8 p.m. every Tuesday. Next week, we will have some Masters conversations where we'll see if Victor was right or wrong. More NBA news, and I know we haven't gotten into it. There's been some juicy NFL news that we have to obviously dive into and talk about.
Yeah, of course, Sam Darnold,
Yeah. Well, not just that. There's a couple other things that happened that we didn't really get to touch on, so we can kind of dive into it. So be sure and check us out on Instagram at Townie_sports.
Sure.
So if you don't want to like us, subscribe here, why don't you just go give us a follow, and then you can lurk there and see some of our funny posts. We can talk about how Vic, his phrasing during the podcast is actually kind of funny and interesting. So go like our page, Lights Up Productions, all one word, on Instagram, and our Facebook page, Lights Up Productions, for more news and events and podcasts as we stream them. Thanks again to Moira for moderating the chat. You are awesome. Thank you for telling people to stop swearing. Shout out to the House of Fandom. They have an exciting episode this Thursday. Clark, Danny, and Tank, along with special guest Mello. Is it Carmelo Anthony? Cover all the latest fandom news. Play exciting previews of Space Jam 2, which, by the way, that movie looks like trash.
So bad.
Black Widow.
It looks so bad.
And Marvel's Loki, which those two I'm really excited about. I'm actually excited about Black Widow and Loki.
Black Widow, whatever, but Loki I'm down for. Yep.
I mean, it's ScarJo for an hour and a half. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding, Moira. You're not supposed to. People can cuss if they want. So, next up, they break down episode 3 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And finally, the House of Fandom Retro reviews the classic 1985 Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon. Vic, what do you think of The Last Dragon?
I've never seen it.
Yeah, me neither. So, that'll be fun.
But you have seen The Winter Soldier, right? The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right?
Of course.
All right, and you're caught up, and it's excellent.
Yes.
So these guys do great stuff. Noli, Clark, and all the guys, they know their stuff. So tune in. they say stuff that I don't even realize because I don't read the comic books. So I like following them along. They give me the tidbits that I need, and I can continue to enjoy the show at an even more than normally.
Without further ado, thank you so much. That has been the Townie Sports Podcast. Please like and subscribe, guys.
TCV, Jet Red, Classical, Sandstorm, yeah, we gon' get it, yeah, hey, put your hands up high, if you got that life, put your hands in the sky, if you got that life, that you talk it, we live it, that's when it all comes down, we gon' get it, put your hands up high. You can catch me in the street, sun up to sundown. Phone keep ringing, so I gotta make the rounds. For a quarterback, cause I'm dying for a sack. Work the streets all day, so I'm dying for a nap. You can catch me on the block, standing like a statue. Shot me if you wanna, I'ma throw the clip at you. Catch me shooting dice when the work gets slow. Homie ran out of stat, now he betting up his blow. My girl keep calling, saying she need time. Give her wood fucking good, then I'm back up on my grind. 2-7 cap, money on my mind. You niggas hating on me, but you just too wasting time. Put your hands up, nigga, man up. Ain't no pussy around here, nigga, stand up. We got them grams up, we wearing grams up. 2-7 cap, we don't give a fuck, nigga. Put your hands up high, if you got that life. Put your guns in the sky, if you got that life. Cause you talk it, we live it. That's when it all comes down, we gon' get it. I felt alone in the dark, I couldn't even talk. Felt like the next step was being outlined in chalk. Pop a few bottles to drown out all the sorrow. Never knew if today was worse than tomorrow. Got left in the rain, fist fights with my dad. I wanted the cream like Usher, I got it bad. I put my feet in the streets like fuck me in the grass. Not a Fox comedy, but my heart was so mad. Not selling that shit would just make it all fine. Like an ex-skater, I didn't wanna forget my grind. It was like Inception, money on my mind. Sick of driving this bucket by dime after dime. But I met some thugs that shared all my dreams. All true to the life, fuck all the fake schemes. Cause when it all comes down to it, it's money by any means. Hustle to shine in the streets like cars with high beams. Hands up high, if you got that life. Put your guns in the sky, if you got that life. Cause you talk it, we live it. That's when it all comes down, we gon' get it. Put your hands up high, if you got that life.
Hey yo, mi vida es una movie. A lot of niggas screw me, but fuck you, pay me, nigga, sue me. Mi vida, tú no puedes caminar en ella antes que tú seas 5 estrellas. Peligroso, venenoso cuando yo tiro. Clásico ha quedado, ten cuidado amigos. Que tú hablas de mí, que mi vida está rodeada de infeliz. Que hablan mucho, no pueden conmigo. Mi flow, loco, mira te explico. No hay nadie que pueda con él. Yo le doy gracias a mi madre que me vio crecer. Mi vida es loca, rodeado de coca, rodeado de maleantes. Mi vida es peligrosa. Ya salida ciega se fue y aquí quedé el capitán que lo que.
Hands up high, if you got that life. Put your guns in the sky, if you got that life. You talking, hands up, hands up. When it all comes down, we gon' get it. Hands up. Put your hands up high, if you got that life.
Hey, Wally and Sandstorm.
How we roll, hey.
Yeah.
Homicidal clothes cause I'm dressed to kill. Leave 6 bitches oohing cause I'm worth a mill. Flow is ill, spitting no vomit spill. Killing them softly, but I ain't Lauren Hill. I'm a Beantown boy with a Trigger City mind state. Leaving whole surprise like they going on a blind date. Had that ass spinning, best believe that booty gyrate. Come fresh to the game, so y'all lanes better migrate. Versatile cat, so I flow on the South Beat. Spit so hard I fuck around and hurt my teeth. My vision stays clear, why y'all looking cloudy? Yeah, I spit fire, but misses don't doubt me. Jumping hard on tracks, call me steroided rabbit. Consistently murder beats like a serial killer's habit. Drop his flow, so I took the game and stabbed it. Copy my style, but it's too hot for you to grab. I got my shoes high, and my